There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
All righty, it is time, baby, to rock and roll with the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report. And we do it twice a week with Ira Winderman Murad here of the South Florida Sun Sentinel. And there he is, ready to rock. Ira, good morning, sir. How are you doing, my friend?
Orlando, I'm doing good, and it's kind of odd. I just tweeted this out, and it caught me by surprise because all these years have run into each other. 6 weeks till the start of training camp. 6 weeks.
Crazy. It's year-round, Ira.
But think about this. Oh, think about this.
A
year ago at this time, the Heat were completing 2 seasons ago. Wrap your head around that at this time, the Heat were just about to start the playoffs of the 2019-20 season. They played the entire 2021 season, and now they're 6 weeks away from the 21-22 seasons. I mean, in the words of Costanza, Jerry, it's worlds colliding.
Yes, it is. It's crazy, man, but that's this sport has done what football has done, and it's made it year-round, and that's why there are storylines year-round. Hell, we had a couple of trades, go on here recently in the NBA. Are the Heat done right now? Is the roster locked in? Because I know you talked about possibly a point guard. I know the UD addition just happened. How about Miami? Are they done? Because we just saw Patrick Beverley get traded.
Yeah, the Heat are numerically and mathematically done because of the luxury tax. And certainly you and I can debate whether the Arison should or shouldn't pay a little bit more. They've always said if they are contenders, they would. However, the luxury tax is onerous. And we know this, Big O. There's a repeater tax. 3 of 5 years you're in the tax, you pay a ton. So all of a sudden, a minimum salary guy can cost you $10, $15 million or even more. We know in future seasons, with the Adebayo contract on the books, with the Lowry contract on the books, with the Butler contract on the books, and just everything else, Duncan Robinson on the books, they're going to be a luxury tax team. So this might be the year you say, look, we'll try to get by with what we have. The only way at the moment for the Heat to have a different player brought in and still remain below the tax, there's just one way at the moment, and that's a trade. If you can trade Kasiak Pallet, say for a draft choice or for another player, you can do it that way. Otherwise, they have enough space under the tax that later in the season, trade deadline, buyout deadline, they should be able to add one more. It's why it's some consternation over the UD signing and just some general thought of, like you said, do they have that point guard? Because you're right, Memphis now has 4 point guards. They have Patrick Beverley, they have Rajon Rondo, they have Desmond Bane who plays point guard, and of course they have Ja Morant. Knowing Andy and knowing Pat, if they need to do something, they will find a way to do something.
Okay. All right. That's interesting because it's just the UD signing. To me, we talked about this and I know it's blasphemous and all of that. What was their justification? What do you hear behind the scenes? Because a veteran-laden team like this, I don't think needs UD nearly as much. So I'm wondering what's the method behind the madness and why not just make him a coach already?
Well, number one, basically the Heat gave him a lifetime contract. There were some years when he didn't get the money that he wanted. The last 4 years he hasn't played. He'll now make $10 million. So there seems like there was ample payback there. I look at it this way a little, and I'm not sure that it's the right way to say it this way. But basically, Jimmy Butler has gotten on this roster who he wants, including the godfather of his daughter, Kyle Lowry. Bam Adebayo swears by Udonis Haslem, says that Udonis has meant everything since his arrival, calls him his locker room mentor. So you could make an argument, Big O, that if Jimmy can get his $85 million guy in Kyle Lowry, shouldn't Bam and his extension be able to get his $1.7 million guy? UD means everything to Bam Adebayo. And I think Bam would feel, at least initially, like we all do when our friends move on elsewhere, might feel a little bit lost. So I think that factors into it also.
Well, I hope Bam then picks up the dog mentality of UD and, goes out there and bites some people's heads off this season and takes control at times. That would be nice. In a way, we saw Barkov kind of, become a little bit more aggressive this year with the Panthers. I'd like, if UD is gonna be your mentor, well then, have the fire of UD also on that court sometimes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think with this roster, you'll have to be, because if you're not a dog, you'll hear about it from PJ Tucker and from Kyle Lowry and from Markieff Morris and all the dogs out there. And this time, UD won't be on the court against Dwight Howard when Dwight is fouling people and throwing them to the court like rag dolls. So it's going to have to be Tucker. It's going to have to be Markieff Morris, and it's going to have to be Bam Adebayo. I think Bam gets that also. I think, Bam is in this generation, and know it's a little foreign to you and I, of where the players are all friends. Remember the Pat Riley when he came and you get fined if you helped an opposing player up off the court, and they'd be held to pay. And now everyone's a buddy. They play AAU ball together like Bam did with so many of these players. Obviously in college at the factories like Bam did with De'Aaron Fox and all the Kentucky players. And then Olympics. Look, they were all in Olympics camp together. All these guys are friends. I think that's part of the lesson you have to learn. There can be friendships off the court, but you have to maintain that Heat mantra when you get on the court. Bam's learning that. Again, only 23, 24 years old. Some of this stuff takes time. He knows the expectations. He knew what that extension meant signing it, and he knew when he signed it, it was going to limit the Heat in this offseason. So he basically said, you don't need others. You're going to have me.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Remember, you can follow Ira on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Center. And, of course, you can catch him here 3 times a week with the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then tomorrow, we've got the Pallet Rack City Inside the Paint show with Clay Ferraro. That'll be 10 to 11 tomorrow morning, a 1 hour of basketball talk. What'd you think of the trade of Patrick Beverley and Rondo? I thought that was kind of an odd trade. You figure playoff Rondo and all this other stuff and the leadership and all that, and they got rid of some defense too, the Clippers. What'd you think of that trade?
I think this means that the Clippers know they're not going to have Kawhi Leonard for most of the season, if not all of the season. So look at Rondo. He's not a scorer anymore. Never really was. Shot came around in the bubble, not much. Patrick Beverley has never been a scorer. It's the reason originally the Heat kept Eddie House over him when they had a chance to make that initial decision. So I think the Clippers thought is this: we have to stay afloat this year. It's probably not our contention year, but someone like Eric Bledsoe is more of a complete player. So I understand it for them. Again, people who were predicting the Western Conference and looking at the Lakers and the other teams, without Kawhi Leonard, even though they competed with Paul George in the playoffs, they're not a contender. And I think they know that. They're trying to stay afloat. I don't understand it as much for Memphis, only that it helped them long-range salary cap. I understand that also, but they have so many point guards, and they don't fit, and there has to be a part B. There's been so much wheeling and dealing already. They made their trade. Valanciunas, who I like a lot, wound up going to New Orleans in that trade. Now they have Steven Adams, a paint-based center. So I think Memphis is sort of going through the churn of saying, you know what? We're not top 4 in the West. We're probably not top 6 in the West. We need to keep working this thing until we find our mix. So, yeah, I would say if not by opening day, at some point during the season, you won't see both Beverley and Rondo with the Grizzlies. But again, and I know where you might be leading here, if there's a buyout, you're talking about possibly adding Patrick Beverley for the minimum or possibly adding Rajon Rondo for the minimum. The Heat can't even take that on, even the veterans minimum, where their luxury tax is right now. Now, if they can move a KZ Okpala for a draft choice or for a nothing, then you could do something like that. And yet, I don't love the fit. I've been the person who's saying from the get-go the Heat needs a veteran backup point guard to get this team in offense. But, we both know you got to be able to shoot in this league. And Rondo's not a shooter. And Beverly's not a shooter.
Right, they're not shooters. Yeah, they're definitely not shooters. All right, well, the guy that is Tyler Hero. And he can play a little point guard, too, if you need it. Barker bites. What's he going to do this offseason? Is this kid going to, focus and come back and and take that step that we were all hoping he would take last year? Or if and what is the Heat trying to do to light that fire, if they can, under the kid's butt?
What the Heat are trying to do more than anything is this. A year from now, Tyler Hero will be in his rookie scale extension window. The Heat have to find out this season if he's extension worthy, just like Bam Adebayo when Bam got his $163 million extension. Right now, I think we would both agree that would be a hard bullet to bite, to have to say at this moment, if we had to do it, let's extend Tyler Hero 4 years, 5 years at $163 million. So, I think what they have to do is this, is find a niche for Tyler Hero, put him in that niche, and know what they have from a player in that niche. If they put him in the sixth-man role, the Vinnie Johnson, the Jamal Crawford type of scoring role, and he thrives, hey, those guys are valuable in today's NBA, especially when you have Kyle Lowry, who next season, a year from now, is 36, Jimmy Butler, who a year from now will be 33. You're going to need that spark off the bench. So I think the opposite of what you and others have suggested or mentioned. I don't play him at point guard at all. I don't mess with the guy's head. You are instant offense. You will come off the bench every game. You will give us 20-plus minutes. You will get buckets like you did in the bubble. And if you can do that, like you did against Boston in the playoffs, then we know what your special purpose will be. Eventually, maybe into the starting role, but we know who you are. But man, it messed with his head last season when they started him at point guard. And I think this has to be a season of discovery for the Heat when it comes to Tyler Hero.
Are you hearing anything on his own, what he's doing, how disappointed he was in his season? Do we hear anything out of that?
No, I don't think he was disappointed. I think he felt he was balling. He was put in different roles. The team was uneven. There were all the COVID situations. He was forced to play in that 8-man unit, 2 games in Philadelphia. He's confident. The people are confusing a couple of things. He works hard. He is always in the gym. He is always putting in the effort. He has a very good private coach and trainer in California that he spends time with. He went to Vegas. He was with the Heat during this. But he also wants to be a star. And he has that right. And I know my comments have gotten me in trouble on this before, when I've said Tyler Hero has chosen to be a star. He has. It's his big personality. You remember what he wore on draft night. I mean, you can't come out in that outfit on draft night and then tell people not to keep an eye on you. We've seen all these kind of players. You've seen it in the NFL. Tyler Hero wants to be a star. He has his endorsements. He has everything. That's fine. As long as the work continues, as long as the growth continues. I do feel to a degree he backslid last year, but look, it was the COVID season. He had no offseason between his rookie season and his second season, barely 6 weeks to get going. So now we'll see when you put Tyler Hero back in the lab. The Heat were done the end of May. They're not starting camp till September 28th. What did he do in that intervening period that now you can say to yourself, okay, this kid shows something? And that also goes into the extension decision. If I know if I give him 4 or 5 years at $163 million, he's going to work in year 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bam has showed us that. Now we have to see it from Tyler.
The other guy we just talked about a little bit, KZ Akpala, and you've explained that he's in a 3-year contract. So this is his 3rd year. The Heat have to be incredibly disappointed on what's going on with KZ. And I know Mike Brown was gushing over his defense and all that when he was coaching Team Nigeria and all of that. But have you been able to talk to anybody in the Heat organization, and have they been able to decipher what's going on with the kid and why he hasn't had any improvement on the offensive end?
Yeah, you know what? And they say he's been rushing things and that he hasn't had the game slowed down for him. You know this is what it's like for a player in football, for a running back. When he doesn't set the hole, when he doesn't read the gaps, and he's just going 1,000 miles an hour. You've seen guys who you say, wait, this guy has unbelievable speed. What an incredible body he has. He should be doing more. And instead, he's running horizontally instead of vertically and getting nowhere. That's the KZ Akpala experience. He plays hard. He puts a lot of energy out there on the court. He's trying to do right, but he's just running around sort of to a degree like a chicken with his head cut off. I don't mean that condescendingly. Don't pick up that one soundbite, but that's what it looks like. He can defend. he can be disruptive. That's not enough. There's a term in the NBA, a player is a 3-and-D player. The reason they call him that is this. They don't have much else to their offensive game, but they can make the three. Bruce Bowen, Keith Askins, eventually in his career, Dan Marley. Those players are valuable in the NBA. But if you're not the 3 and just the D, you're way too one-dimensional. A matter of fact, I would put it the other way. If you're the 3 and not the D, you still have a contract. Hey, let's go talk to Duncan Robinson and all these other guys who are loading up. Wayne Ellington, a lifetime NBA contract. But if you're just the D in today's offensive-oriented NBA, sort of like a running back who can't catch the ball because he has 2 boards for hands, eventually you're going to wind up out of the league.
Yeah. There's no use for you in this league anymore. In the 90s, they can sit you at the back end of the bench and use you at the end of a game or the end of a quarter to help, kind of take care of business. But nowadays...
Hello, Keith Askins. Exactly. Yes.
Right. Exactly. Yes. But nowadays, although... Let's give Keith some credit. He did
develop. No, he became a 3-and-D. He became a 3-and-D player. Absolutely.
Yeah, he did. He did have the 3 game going on. Are you expecting anything different in the Heat's play this year? Will Spo kind of change things because it's a veteran team this year, and he's got to kind of, I guess, balance the minutes too?
Well, I think one thing will change, and you may, although I don't think Max Strus plays today, but the Heat are closing out Summer League today, 3 o'clock versus the Dallas Mavericks, ESPNU. I think the thing you'll see now this season is this. You will always have a must-guard 3-point threat on the floor at all times. That's what Max Strus has grown into during Summer League. So I think last year when Duncan went out, you said to yourself, who's going to make the threes? Is it going to be Kendrick Nunn? Is it going to be Tyler Hero? When they had Kelly Olynyk, is it going to be Kelly O, or even before that, Myers Leonard? But you never had that Duncan is out, who makes the threes. I think with the Heat this season, you will always have a 3-point spacer because I think Max Strus has proven, at worst, he can give you 18, 20 minutes a game as that spacer. So that's a huge change for the Heat right here because they brought in some guys who aren't really 3-point threats. So you have that concern. You still have Bam's not a 3-point threat. Jimmy's not a 3-point threat. So I think that changes. I think they will get into their set offense better because it's not Bam having to be the playmaker from the elbow. It's not Jimmy having to waste 8 seconds on the shot clock advancing the ball. Kyle Lowry will get you to the ball, get the ball to you in the right place. He'll make the pocket passes. He'll find the shooter. I think offense will be easier. My concern there is, and it's interesting, I just said last year when Duncan Robinson went off the court, they were at a 3-point deficit. I think this year it'll be a huge adjustment when Kyle Lowry goes off the court and Gabe Vincent comes in and plays point guard, or your backup point guard comes in. So I think that'll be something that Eric's going to have to work through. Maybe there isn't a point guard. Maybe Jimmy does become the de facto playmaker during those minutes. Maybe Bam becomes the de facto playmaker during those minutes. And they play more with 2 shooting guards with Tyler Hero and Max Strus and do it that way until Victor Oladipo comes back. So yeah, Eric Spoelstra, I think, has new challenges this season. It's not a matter of running it back. There's so much personal turnover. Camp's going to be really important for this team this year, even with veterans, because they're going to have name tags to start camp, and they're going to have to learn each other.
All right, last one. We'll wrap it up with this, Ira, and we're going to go completely off the beaten path here. You just mentioned his name, actually. Myers Leonard. He was in the news last week because he was joining a Jewish organization to understand more, obviously, after his incident and everything else. He's not in the league. He's a free agent. Mm-hmm. Nobody offered him a contract. Listen, I have a problem with a lot of this stuff, with a lot of these guys or women or anybody that ends up spewing some fashion of hate towards whatever group we're talking about. And then that person then goes to, try to join different groups to understand the people that he insulted and those kind of things. And I always find it to be a level of phoniness. I always find it to be PR work by that actor or the actress, the athlete in this case, or the politician or whatever. And I always find it to be some kind of a PR thing so they can try to get back into whatever it is that they do in life and try to be accepted again. Why isn't Myers Leonard being accepted? I'm just wondering. I have no problem with him never being in the NBA again, because for me, anybody that spews hate It's not a mistake. It came from your heart. When that spews out, if you don't have hate in your heart, it doesn't come out of your mouth. At no point will it come out of your mouth. You can call somebody a jerk, but once you add the color to it of the religious, the nationality, the sexuality to it, we know what you are. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering, when you look at his situation, what is it that the NBA is also saying, yeah, we want no part of this?
Because 12th men don't get second chances. Because great players in all sports, you've seen it. I don't know whether you want to go to Steve Howe back in the year in baseball or Lawrence Phillips or things like that. If you have ultimate talent, teams will always salivate at the talent, try to find a way to work around the problem. You don't do that for your 12th man, your 13th man. Myers-Leonard was a guy who was a niche player for the Heat, who sort of resurrected his career after Portland. Then he fell out of the rotation. He did start in the finals when Bam was hurt, but that was an emergency fill-in. But when you're that kind of guy, why take on the headache? Why have to make the statement? Why have to say he's a different person? Why have to have the Orlando Alzugaray-like doubters out there wondering if you're the same person? You've got to toe that line when you're a 12th, 13th, 14th, or 15th man, or else you just go bye-bye. Or else people say, hey, I don't need the J.R. Smith headache. I don't need the Dion Waiters headache anymore. Think about that. The guy won a championship with the Lakers and was never seen again because someone else said, hey, we don't need that as our 12th man. We'll get a developmental kid. We'll get someone with no background at all and deal with that. And I think that's where Myers is right now. A team would have to be desperate for his skill set to bring him back. He made his money. He did his thing. He made his comment. Hey, if he wants to show he's a better person, you can always do that. You don't have to be an NBA player again to show that. Obviously, he still has a name and a forum to do that, so God bless him. But I got to tell you, and I think you say the same thing. If you're a GM and you're looking for him to sit on the end of your bench and might not even dress on some nights, who needs that headache? Life is about avoiding headaches. You know, if it was a little thing, if it was a little more in the community and you saw something tangible, if he saved a dog's life crossing the street or something, okay, he did something great. Something like this, you just don't do it for your 14th man.
All right. What are you working on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out, Ira?
We're gonna recap Summer League today after the Heat play the Mavericks at 3:00. We're going to talk about the winners and losers of that. And then when we come back tomorrow with Inside the Paint and sponsored by Pallet Rack City and talk to Clay Ferraro, we're going to go through Summer League and what mattered for the Heat, what was smoke, what was mirrors, go through that and say, hey, now we start this 6-week process of what goes on. So again, the 6-week ramp up matters for this team. Bunch of young players will be in the gym, but we also have to see the takeaway from Summer League. They can now sign players to what they call Exhibit 10 contracts, $50,000 guarantee. And they haven't signed their two-way players yet. So we'll be looking into that as well.
All right. And G League is a full season this year?
Full season. The Heat will have at least 4 affiliate players. They could send players down. There might be some Omer Yurtseven minutes there. They're back at it with Sioux Falls, and they really have shown what they've done with the Skyforce over the years.
All right. Good stuff. Follow them on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Catch him tomorrow for an hour, baby, with Clay Ferraro Inside the Paint. And he'll be back Friday right here for the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report. He is Ira Winderman. Ira, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Big O. Talk to you again tomorrow and then again Friday. Thank you.
Got it. There you go. The great Ira Winderman. Love Ira, man. Good stuff there as always.